Hello and welcome back to another rendition of That Sports Guys podcast. I am Craig Forrestall, aka That Sports Guy. Go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter at that_sports_guy, where you can go ahead and catch all my latest happenings. Also at NFLDraftDiamonds.com. You can find my feature work there. NFLDraftDiamonds.com is a proud sponsor of That Sports Guys podcast. Go ahead and stop on by NFLDraftDiamonds.com to stay up to date with all the latest news and happenings in the football world. And make sure to keep it locked to NFLDraftDiamonds.com this weekend for all the latest NFL draft coverage. And speaking of NFL draft coverage, that's what I want to get into today. I want to go over the first round and discuss the picks with everyone and let you know my thoughts on those picks. Then I want to transition into this evening. Who are the best players available? What can you expect certain teams to do with their picks? And then I have one crazy hypothetical trade scenario that I want to run by everyone. So we'll go ahead. We'll get it started with the Bengals in the first overall pick. Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU. The Dolphins made attempts to get up to 1 overall. The Bengals stuck to their guns. They had ID'd Burrow for a while. They stuck with Joe Burrow. They got the guy that they hope can turn that Cincinnati franchise around. He is lucky that Joe Mixon, AJ Green, and Tyler Boyd are on roster. John Ross, also an ex-first-round pick, is on the team as well. Hopefully Burrow can be a shot in the arm for his career. They do have a couple of tight ends that they can roll out as well for productive snaps. The offensive line is concerning, but they did draft Jonah Williams from Alabama last year in the first round. Due to injury, his rookie season was not extensive, but they get him back this upcoming year, so hopefully that can beef up the offensive line, keep Joe Burrow upright in a ever-changing division now with three young quarterbacks in Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. So interesting division to keep an eye on for the next handful of years, see how those three continue to develop, and I look forward to some interesting battles between Burrow and the rest of that division. Pick number 2, Chase Young, Washington Redskins, Ohio State D-end. I don't really think Ron Rivera thought twice about this. He's a defensive-minded guy. His D coordinator is Jack Del Rio, another defensive-minded guy, guys that have been around the league for a while. They have philosophies that they live by. And I think the idea of having two top-notch DNs in the NFC East causing havoc for the next 8 years or so in Montez Sweat and Chase Young was just too much for them to pass by. Chase Young is considered by some to be the best player in this year's draft class. So they're getting a highly productive, highly viewed defensive end prospect. If you look at the success of the Bosa brothers initially and quickly in their careers, you have to think that the same is in store for Chase Young, coming from the Ohio State program and filling the shoes of the Bosa brothers. Very, very athletic. Quick hands, so definitely be interesting to see how Chase Young develops and plays early on in his career for the Redskins, paired up with Montez Sweat. Jeff Okudah, cornerback, went to the Lions from Ohio State. Darius Slay is no longer a member of the Lions, so it's fitting that Jeff Okudah has all the traits of a cornerback one for an NFL team. When you watch his film, it is boring, and boring is a good thing because whenever teams contested him, he shut it down immediately. Wasn't a whole lot of action coming his way. That's a compliment. That is not a knock. Some have said that he's the best cornerback evaluation since Jalen Ramsey, to give you perspective on how highly thought of he is in the NFL community. So once again, the Lions, Jeff Okudah, get a starting cornerback from day one to hopefully fill the shoes of Darius Slay. Andrew Thomas, this is the first selection where I think people had some eyebrows raised. In my opinion, he's the safest player in this year's class. 3-year starter at Georgia, started on the right and left side. immediately from the day he walked on campus. No small task there. Andrew Thomas is not going to wow you with anything. You're not going to, be wowed by him like you are with Tristan Wirfs when it comes to the athleticism or anything like that. But there are no flaws in Andrew Thomas's game. He's extremely solid all around. And like I said, he's battle-tested in the SEC, 3-year starter at Georgia. I think he comes in and starts immediately for the Giants on the right side. They're going to let Solder finish out his days on the left side. And then once Nate Solder is off and away looking for new work in the league, that's when I think Andrew Thomas will transition over to the left side and then be a high-caliber starting left tackle for the Giants. I'm not saying that he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but I definitely feel that he's a true Pro Bowl selection, not someone that gets the invite because everyone has canceled or said they're not going to play. He is a true Pro Bowl candidate, a true Pro Bowler every year. So Andrew Thomas is a wonderful pick in my mind for the Giants at 4. Then we get to 5 with Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback from Alabama. The Dolphins ID'd their guy. They found Tua. They were rumored to trade up, to trade back, to like Herbert, to like Jordan Love, to like Tua, to like Joe Burrow, to like everyone, to possibly like everyone. They liked everyone. The Dolphins liked everyone. So, phenomenal job of playing the board game, playing checkers and chess by Brian Flores, Chris Greer, and the Dolphins organization over there. There are concerns with Tua. When it comes to the concerns with Tua, I feel that the concerns are all injury-related. When it comes to his skill set, you watch him play in the SEC. He was highly effective. He's a winner. You look at how he burst onto the scene by replacing Jalen Hurts in the championship game with that miraculous second-half comeback. And he kind of set the stage for a legendary college career to be written. And I think that even given all the injuries, that he still had a phenomenal college career. But the injuries are concerning. The surgeries that are there are not minor. In some regards with some of the injuries. Now, every NFL player is one hit away from their career changing, but I feel that one hit away is a little bit different with Tua because of the medical concerns that come with him initially in the league. So you look at what the Dolphins did later on in round 1 by getting the O-tackle at pick 18, Austin Jackson. We'll get there in a minute. And you just hope that they can continue to bolster that offensive line because, like I said, Tua does have the injury concerns, so durability is going to worry some people more than others, and I'm one of those people that it worries me more than others. So hopefully it all pans out. I want the best for Tua, but I would be lying if I said this pick doesn't come with concerns in my perspective. 6 with the Chargers, Justin Herbert. I thought that they were going to go Isaiah Simmons here personally. I thought the combination of Derwin James and Isaiah Simmons was too much for the Chargers to pass up. I was wrong. They went Justin Herbert, quarterback, Oregon. The Chargers said that they were good going with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, bringing in a more athletic element, and that's the way that they wanted to go in the future at quarterback. I feel Herbert does bring that more athletic element to the position. While he's not going to set league rushing records like Lamar Jackson from the quarterback position, he does bring that athletic element. You could see in the bowl game against Wisconsin with a Jim Leonhard-led defense, Justin Herbert found himself in some tough situations. I'm not sure if that's going to be him, game plan, whatever the case may be, some combination of the both. But he was able to survive by bringing that athletic element to the game, contributing with scores on the ground. So Justin Herbert, I feel, fits the bill of what the Chargers wanted to do at the quarterback position. So it made sense for them to go ahead and pull the trigger right there. Moving to 7, Derek Brown, Carolina Panthers, D-tackle, Auburn. One of my favorite players in the draft. So much fun to watch. You can slide him up and down the D-line. Matt Rule, the former Baylor head coach, coming into Carolina, getting a tone setter in Derek Brown. Definitely something to pay attention moving forward, especially with defensive coordinator Phil Snow having a 3-4 background, seeing how the Panthers are going to be defensively moving forward. Are they going to be a hybrid? Are they going to be a 4-man front? Are they going to be a 3-man? Whatever they do, Derek Brown fits, so expect big contributions from him early on. Pick 8, Arizona Cardinals. They went with Isaiah Simmons, linebacker, Clemson. Isaiah Simmons is a hair under 6'4", 238 pounds, ran a 4.3 something 40, is just a unicorn. Is maybe the first true positionless defensive player in the NFL right now. Recently, he's on record as saying in the NFL, you're given 53 roster spots, but if you select him, he feels that his versatility is the equivalent of having 56 roster spots. So, to give you an idea of what he means by that versatility, he took snaps for Clemson this past season as an edge pass rusher at linebacker and, in the nickel, at slot corner, at safety, all over the place. So on the edge, at linebacker, in the nickel, at safety, bringing a whole variety of defensive skills to a team. So it'll be interesting to see how Arizona uses that athleticism. If not the best, one of the best athletes in this draft class, regardless of position. I thought they were going to go offensive line to protect Kyler Murray, last year's number 1 pick. Given how they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, I thought that the offensive line was going to be the direction that they went into. But Cliff Kingsbury, Steve Keim, and the Cardinals had a different view in mind by taking Isaiah Simmons, and arguably the best athlete in this draft, regardless of position. So it'll be interesting to see how he transitions to the NFL game and how Arizona decides to use him on a weekly basis. If they're going to move him around, different things like that. 9, at least in the top 10 with the Jaguars, C.J. Henderson, cornerback from Florida, was the biggest surprise to me. He does have tackling and physicality concerns, while athletically, he's going to check every box. He's a top-notch cover corner, going to give the Jags what they want from the coverage perspective. Given the holes defensively the Jags have, no more Jalen Ramsey, a couple of other defensive players have moved on. Not saying that the Jags defense is in rebuild mode, but it's heading towards that territory. Hopefully C.J. Henderson at 9 overall can give the Jags what they're looking for. I felt he was more of a fit at 17 to Dallas, but once again, the Jags went ahead, pulled the trigger on the guy that they felt fit their needs the best given the board and how it lied with C.J. Henderson. Played running back for most of his life, did not transition to cornerback until his senior year of high school, and that was only out of injury concerns. So a phenomenal athlete. Be interesting to see how he develops with the Jags. Cleveland at 10, Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle from Alabama. Kentucky native, grew up about a mile or so from the University of Kentucky, made the journey on down to play for the Crimson Tide. Did protect Tua's blind side on the right side, playing right tackle for Alabama. So it'll be interesting to see how Cleveland decides to use him. I do believe that he'll set up on the left side, protecting Baker's blind side. Some people have said that transition from left to right, right to left, however it goes, can be a little awkward and take some time to get used to. So it'll be interesting to see with Wills how quickly he can adjust. But overall, solid prospect. I do expect him to be an upgrade on that O-line. Now it's just going to be a question of how much Baker can take that next step, as they've given him weapons, as they've given him an offensive tackle now. So it'll be interesting to see how Cleveland takes the rest of their draft direction. Mekhi Becton at 11 to me is just a total boom bust. It's all or nothing. And for me, it's it's a question of the size. Is he too big to play football? And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm being honest. Is he too big to play football? He's huge. He's just shy of 6'8", just shy of 365. Daniel Jeremiah did say, for those of you with the weight concerns, that he was in contact with Becton's camp very, very shortly before the draft, and he maintained his weight. He was at 363, checked in at 364 at the combine, so that should alleviate some weight concerns there for people. But for me, is he too big to play football? That is my concern. But given the Jets' needs, Le'Veon Bell had nowhere to run last year. They need to do something to keep Sam Darnold healthy, protect him, give him an offensive line that can keep him clean in passing situations. I thought wide receiver might be a potential selection here, given Robbie Anderson's departure to Carolina. But when it's all said and done, the Jets went with Mekhi Becton, O-tackle from Louisville, which I feel is a total boom-bust pick. Henry Ruggs, wide receiver, Alabama, went 12th to the Raiders. The Raiders sticking with that traditional, if you're fast, we're going to have a blast approach. Marriage made in heaven. Ruggs with a high 4.2, low 4.3 type 40 guy. I don't think it's any shock here if they went wide receiver, given what happened with Antonio Brown last year. And then throughout the season, Darren Waller, tight end, served as their number one. Hunter Renfrow came on strong later on in the season out of the slot, rookie from Clemson last year. But Tyrell Williams functioned as their number one receiver. He was hurt. So it was just a wide receiver room that really needed a facelift. And I believe Henry Ruggs is going to open up run lanes for Josh Jacobs, because, as I just mentioned, the pass catchers that Oakland had weren't scaring anybody. So Josh Jacobs was running into some very crowded boxes. Henry Ruggs is going to immediately change that, make defenses change their approach. Like I said, he's a burner. He'll take the top off that defense. So expect Josh Jacobs to have a little bit more running room coming up this year. Then we go on to 13, Tristan Wirfs, O-tackle from Iowa. They swapped one spot to go ahead and get their guy. It was rumored that they wanted offensive line help to keep Brady clean. They're in win now mode. Tristan Wirfs is a phenomenal athlete. Last night during the draft coverage, they showed a video of him in a swimming pool where he was standing by the ledge and just vertically jumped out of the pool, somewhere between 3.5, 4 feet of water. Just a crazy athlete at 6'5", 320. Hopefully that athleticism transitions into the NFL as soon as possible, because the window to win for Tampa is short with Tom Brady in his 40s. They cannot wait 3 or 4 years for Tristan Wirfs to turn into the type of offensive lineman that many think he can become. They need that type of production almost from the get-go, with a very small learning curve. But Iowa has a history of turning out NFL-ready linemen, so you would hope that transition would be a little bit smoother, given Kirk Ferentz and the reputation that the Iowa Hawkeyes have for offensive linemen. Then we go to Javon Kinlaw at South Carolina. Just a really, really heartwarming story about his childhood, split time in South Carolina and Washington, D.C., for parts of his childhood, he was homeless, but just a crazy athletic football player, the type of guy that you draw up when you want a defensive tackle. The 49ers got rid of Armstead, moved him to Indianapolis for the Indianapolis first-round pick. They took that first-round Indianapolis pick, moved it back one spot to 14 overall from 13, and they got Javon Kinlaw. Javon Kinlaw is a top-notch defensive tackle and should be an instant replacement to Armstead on that defensive line, being a younger, cheaper option. I don't think the talent drop-off is going to be extreme, so I feel that the 49ers did a great job of getting an additional pick by moving back one spot and getting a guy that fit an immediate need and getting a guy that's going to start for them this season. Then we slide to 15, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama, going to the Broncos. You have to like what Denver's doing for Drew Lock. They have Cortland Sutton. They have Noah Fant. They just brought in Melvin Gordon. They have Deshaun Hamilton too. Now you get Jerry Jeudy. They're giving Drew Lock all the weapons that he needs. Jerry Jeudy is possibly the best route runner in some time to come into the NFL. So it'll be nice to see him and Cortland Sutton pairing up and catching passes from Drew Lock. Hopefully the addition of Melvin Gordon will pay off for the Broncos. I'm excited about what the future has for Denver. I'm a big Drew Lock guy. Definitely want to see how Jerry Jeudy fits, but I feel the combination of him, Cortland Sutton, and Drew Lock is going to be highly effective for some time. With the Atlanta Falcons at 16, they took A.J. Terrell, Clemson cornerback. I personally didn't feel that A.J. Terrell was a first-round talent. But when you look at Atlanta, their needs are on the defensive side of the ball. So basically, for them, if this is who they felt was the best corner or best defensive prospect available at the time, I completely understand why they took him. You heard a couple of the commentators mention last night that someone's number 3 cornerback was another team's number 8 cornerback, and it was all just a matter of preference. You'll see that at a couple of positions this year because the talent is so closely aligned that you'll have a couple of guys that you feel go higher than you have rated. And for me, A.J. Terrell was just one of those guys. But he comes from a solid program at Clemson. If the Falcons are looking to turn around on a disappointing season and get back to their winning ways, bringing in a guy from Clemson who's used to winning is definitely a way to go about that. It looks like they're going to play him immediately, so I want to see how this pans out, especially given that division. You look at the Panthers with DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, and Teddy Bridgewater. The Bucs with Godwin, Gronk, Mike Evans, and Brady. The Saints with Drew Brees, Mike Thomas, Alvin Kamara. The list goes on. So A.J. Terrell's going to get his shot to show what he's worth very early on, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on there. 17, C.D. Lamb to the Dallas Cowboys, wide receiver, Oklahoma. There were a lot of people that were ranting and raving about this, going off on tyrants. Going off on tirades. I'm not one of those guys. I actually really like this pick. It's Mike McCarthy's offense. It's supported 3 receivers in the past. Dak flirted with 5,000 yards last year. They have Zeke. Zeke's a phenomenal running back. You spread the defenses out more, hopefully creating more run lanes for him. You got Amari Cooper. You got Michael Gallup. And I feel that C.D. Lamb is a perfect addition. I feel that those 3 receivers just kind of fit what Dallas wants to do. They're young. They have a young quarterback. And I feel that C.D. Lamb just goes in the direction of that offense at the skill positions. Now, I know the defensive needs were there, and many people wanted to see a defensive selection. I feel that when C.D. Lamb is around at 17, he's just too good of a player to pass up, especially given now that you're moving to a Mike McCarthy-based offense, which has supported 3 receivers in the past. Then we go to 18, Austin Jackson, O-tackle, Southern Cal. There were questions about this. People were concerned. Early on in the season, you watched Iowa. That was very recently after the medical procedure he had with his sister. So early tape on Austin Jackson wasn't as good as the later on tape. He's 20 years old, highly athletic. The last time that USC had a left tackle that was 20 years old that was viewed as highly athletic and going to grow and develop into a high-level NFL player, it was Tyron Smith, and he went to the Dallas Cowboys. So that's good company to be in line with. Now, the Dolphins have major offensive hole needs. They took Tua. So it looks like with Austin Jackson, what they're trying to do is they're trying to establish a bookend tackle to pair up with that Tua selection at 5 overall. This offensive tackle class, there was the discussion outside of the first 4 guys or so. Who's it going to be after that? We got our answer here with Austin Jackson. I like Austin Jackson. I feel that he's going to develop positively. I do feel that he's going to have a Tyron Smith type of trajectory, but it will take some time. But I feel it's a solid pick to pair with Tua for the Dolphins. 19, Damon Arnett, corner, Ohio State. I told you that Jeff Okudah wasn't challenged very often. That meant a lot of the challenges were left for Damon Arnett. And you can see he went in the top 20. Lets you know about how he reacted to those situations and how he reacted to being challenged. The Raiders, they have many defensive needs, especially on the back end. If you remember, A.J. Brown went bananas on them, catching deep bomb after deep bomb from Ryan Tannehill. So I think those types of performances from wide receivers this past season stuck with Mayock and Gruden, and I think that's the basis for this selection right here. Damon Arnett is going to come in. He's going to compete. He's going to play right away. He comes from Ohio State, another program that has guys pretty NFL ready. So while it might not have been the cornerback you were expecting, it's the cornerback that you're getting with the Raiders. So once again, Damon Arnett, corner, Ohio State. A little bit of a surprise there. But again, like I said a couple of picks ago, someone's number 3 corner is another team's number 8 corner. And if there's anything that you know about Gruden and Mayock is they like fighters. Damon Arnett fits that fighter mold. Going to K'Lavon Chaisson, edge, LSU. K'Lavon Chaisson, edge, LSU to the Jaguars at 20. I feel like he is exactly Josh Allen to an extent, who they drafted from Kentucky not too long ago. An edge player with phenomenal athleticism. He does come with some injury concerns in the past. Was more of a basketball player early on in high school. They covered that last night during the draft about his chance workout at LSU. He went with a friend to an LSU football camp. He didn't even have football cleats with him, borrowed football cleats from someone, walked away with a scholarship offer. So that's the type of athlete that you're getting. That's when he started taking football a little bit more seriously. He has developed into an elite pass rusher, so hopefully that's something that the Jaguars can get use of right away. Who knows what's going to happen with Yannick Ngakoue? Definitely a name to keep an eye on as we move forward, especially with that selection. Jalen Reagor, 21 to the Eagles, wide receiver from TCU. Again, that's 21 Eagles, Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, TCU, having the NFL bloodlines. His father, Monte, playing for the Indianapolis Colts. He's a freaky athlete. He's springy. He's explosive. You go ahead and you watch his tape, you can just see him get by guys. He has that other gear that you often hear talked about and mentioned. Like I said, he's springy and explosive, gets the ball in his hands and can make things happen. Good deep threat. The Eagles were relying on Greg Ward, who played quarterback at Houston in college, as the number 1 receiver down the stretch last year. So you almost had to see that the wide receiver pick was coming. While there were rumors about about linebackers, I feel that wide receiver was the bigger need. They stuck to it here, and I feel that Jalen Reagor has some versatility. Didn't have a whole lot of carries in college, but the carries he got, he had about a 9-yard average. So I'm not saying that he brings you a whole lot of creativity, but he's definitely not just a bland, pure wide receiver. He is someone that does give you some versatility and creativity in the book as well. And coming from Doug Peterson and the Philly Special, I think that that's something that they covet as well, being able to get creative in the playbook. Now we go to pick 22 in the Minnesota Vikings with Justin Jefferson, wide receiver of LSU. He was one of the biggest benefactors of Joe Burrow's breakout season. Next year, Jamar Chase will be at LSU. He's regarded as a first-round talent by many analysts and many draft experts, so keep an eye on him for the upcoming LSU season. But back to Justin Jefferson. He comes from a line of LSU football players with his siblings playing at LSU. He wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. Even last night on the draft coverage, ESPN admitted they gave him 0 stars. It was not highly recruited, got to LSU, worked his way up the depth chart, became a phenomenal option for the Tigers. As you can see, with the Minnesota Vikings, they just got rid of Stephon Diggs, while Justin Jefferson has played a fair amount of snaps in the slot. It'll be interesting to see how they pair him and Adam Thielen up moving forward. Like I said, the departure of Stephon Diggs does open up an immediate spot for Justin Jefferson. So you would want to see how the Vikings pair him and Adam Thielen up moving forward. I feel that Justin Jefferson is a steal of a pick here at 22. I would expect immediate contributions from him as a rookie. Like I said, Stephon Diggs is gone. It's an immediate hole, gives him a room and place to step up and contribute immediately. And I think Justin Jefferson is going to make the most of that opportunity. When we get to 23 with Kenneth Murray, linebacker from Oklahoma, going to the Chargers, he's just an all-around ball player. He's used to playing in space. So with the Kansas City Chiefs, that's going to come in handy. It's going to come in good use for them. Being from the Big 12, he's made a living out of playing in space. Is rangy, can get sideline to sideline. So I feel that it's a good pick, especially if you want to try and go ahead and match up the athleticism and the space that Kansas City is going to put you in defensively. I feel like Kenneth Murray is a phenomenal pick for that reason. Then we go to 24 with Cesar Ruiz, interior offensive lineman, guard, center from Michigan, finding his way to the New Orleans Saints. When the New Orleans Saints were at their best, they had Carl Nix and Jari Evans at guard. They've always invested in the middle of their offensive line. They took Eric McCoy not too long ago, center out of Texas A&M. So I feel that Ruiz is going to come in and play guard. He did start at guard as a sophomore for a portion of the season at Michigan. He's just a nasty football player. So once again, they're trying to keep the structure of that pocket clean by keeping the interior strong of that offensive line for Drew Brees. Plug-and-play guy at 24. I think it's a great pick. I think it fits what the Saints are doing. I never question what Sean Payton and the Saints do when it comes to the draft. I'm a big fan of how they build their roster. So I feel that Ruiz at 24 to the Saints is a phenomenal pick, a little bit of a steal as well. And definitely someone that's going to help keep Drew Brees clean this upcoming season. 25 49ers, Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver, Arizona State. Crazy wingspan, 81-inch 81-inch wingspan at 5'11". To give you perspective, Calvin Johnson's 6'5", and his wingspan was 82 inches. So just freakishly long arms. Good with the ball in space, does bring return value in the punt game. I don't think it was very, very surprising that the 49ers went for a pass catcher. They went with Deebo Samuel last year. You look at that roster when it comes to pass catchers, there isn't a whole lot on that roster. You do have George Kittle at tight end, like I said, Deebo Samuel, but after that, the drop-off is noticeable. So I expect Brandon Ayuk to come in and immediately contribute, or at least immediately fight for snaps. It'd be interesting to see exactly what the plan is for him. Shanahan is extremely creative offensively, so I'm not sure what the evil mastermind plan is for Ayuk, as he is good with the ball in his hands, especially after the catch. So it'd be interesting to keep an eye on how the 49ers elect to use the combination of Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk moving forward. Then we get to pick 26, Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. It's worked in the past, but it doesn't mean it's going to work again. Yeah, the Packers took Rodgers towards the end of Favre's career. They did the wait and see thing. They did the sit and learn thing. I don't necessarily know that Jordan Love was the guy at 26 for them. You were one game away last year. Aaron Rodgers has said that he would like additional weapons, and for that to be addressed through the draft. He was on the Pat McAfee podcast on Thursday, on draft day, on the day of round one, and he was on record on that show, on that recording, as saying that his desire was for the front office to go in the direction of a playmaker for him. So I don't know how he feels. I don't know if he feels scorned. I don't know how he feels betrayed. I know some reports out there say that he is feeling that way, so we shall see. Jordan Love is all or nothing. He's another boom-bust guy. He does have turnover issues when you look at him at Utah State, especially this last season with 17 interceptions. Now, some of it's because of the talent that's around him. Some of it's because he played in different offensive systems and different coaches and things along those lines. But some of it is also based on him, and some of it's also based on the decisions that he makes throughout the progression of the play. I do question his decision-making at times. You look at the athletic ability, yes, he's there. Just shy of 6'4", right around 225. Good athlete. Rocket arm. Can make the plays, all that sort of thing. Has that total boom-bust, gunslinger type quarterback of general scouting report, I guess you could say, for the most part, if we're just going to keep it on a very surface level. And that to me is concerning. People have said that there's Mahomes-like ability in him or Mahomes-like arm. That's high praise. I'm not sure that I would go there. With Jordan Love, I feel that he's more Ryan Tannehill than anything else. In an ideal world, if all goes well and how he progresses, hopefully it works out for the Packers. I feel that they should have gone in a different direction because you were one game away. This just feels like you gave up a little bit. It's just odd to me. I don't like the pick, but again, I am not employed by the Green Bay Packers. I do not make their decisions. So they did what they felt was best for the organization. And if you look at it over the past couple of years, it's worked. We go back to Mahomes. The Chiefs traded up. They got him. It was earlier than 26 overall where they got Mahomes. But still, they had Alex Smith. He sat behind Alex Smith for a year. Then he took the reins. I'm not saying Jordan Love is going to take the reins from Aaron Rodgers in a year. But if Green Bay is planning for their future like that now, being one game away last season, it almost feels like they're just giving up a little. They're looking towards 3 to 4 years from now, more so than 3 to 4 months from now. So that's where I'm at with the pick. Hopefully it pans out. I know it's either a love it or hate it pick for Packerland. I happen to be on the side that is not loving it so much. And then we go to pick 27 with the Seattle Seahawks, and we continue our run on Jordans. This time, Jordan Brooks, linebacker, Texas Tech. Like I said about Kenneth Murray, he's used to playing in space, being in the Big 12. And now with the Seahawks, you look at the Arizona Cardinals. Very similar. They're going to be making you play in space as well. So Brooks ran a 4.5, 40. You can see that speed on film. Just an attacker. Definitely like his game. Feel there's room for him to develop in pass coverage, especially. So be interesting to see how that plays out early on. But I think that he's a player that trusts his instincts, and I think that should serve him well in Seattle. He goes into a good situation where there's a reputation for developing, talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball, when you look at what they've done with a couple of linebacker selections and defensive back selections going back to the Legion of Boom days. If you're a Seattle fan, I'm under the impression, well, it's my opinion that I feel that this is a nice pick for Seattle. I know some people don't like it. I do like this pick for Seattle. 28, Baltimore Ravens, Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU. Only 1 year of true production at LSU starting this previous season. Is undersized, is super speedy. Daniel Jeremiah used to scout for the Ravens. He said that in his notes, he wrote down plays like a Raven. So that's high praise. I'm not as high on Patrick Queen as others. I feel that he has some further development to do. I feel like he can get caught up in the run game with poor reads and poor angles at times. And I feel that can be exposed in the NFL where that athleticism and speed won't bail him out. But overall, he's a solid prospect. Not saying that I do not like him. I just think that the Ravens could have gotten him at a later selection. But Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU, definitely is athletic. I think that the Ravens have a specialized way they want to use him and pair him up in their defense, especially with all those big bodies up front, Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe being two key free agent additions this season that they brought in. Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle, Georgia, 29 to the Titans. But I think it was the Titans that stole the show, specifically Mike Vrabel and his at-home war room. His kids were dressed up in all sorts of outfits. His one son had a mullet while rocking the Pro Bowl jersey. It was just a thing of beauty. If you haven't seen it or you weren't still catching the drafts when we got to pick 29, just go ahead and look up the picture. It's phenomenal. It's great. It truly is. Picture's worth 1,000 words. But to Isaiah Wilson, Brooklyn native, an area that's more known for producing hoop stars, but this time we get a football player out of Brooklyn, spent some time at Georgia. Big man, 6'6", 350, probably going to end up on the right side replacing Jack Conklin, or at least coming in and fighting to replace Jack Conklin in a battle with Dennis Kelly in camp. I feel that he's just scratching the surface. This is definitely more of a long-term projection pick, I feel, in my opinion. But there are tools to work with. I felt that if Isaiah Wilson would have gone back to school, he could have found himself a little bit higher in round one. I was actually a little surprised to see him go in round one. I thought if another tackle was going to go, it would have been Ezra Cleveland or Josh Jones. But Mike Vrabel and the Titans saw something that they like. They do pound the ball with Derrick Henry, so getting a big man fits that kind of power football type of philosophy that they have in store there. The Dolphins at 30, defensive back from Auburn, Noah Igbinoghene. I totally butchered that most likely, but both of his parents were Olympians in Nigeria. His mother competing in the 92 and 96 Olympics, his father in the 92 Olympics. He has a sister that is currently on the track team at Auburn. He as well was on the track team at Auburn, was actually recognized as their athlete of the year 1 year during his competition with the track team. He was a wide receiver, still developing and growing as a defensive back. If you want to know why he transitioned to defensive back, he had one career interception and 18 career pass breakups. The hands just are not there, which is ironic considering he's an electric returner. Did bring back a return for a touchdown in his bowl game against Minnesota to end his college career. So I feel that he's going to come in and he's going to pair up as a nickel with X Howard and Byron Jones. I could see the Dolphins moving to more of a 4-2-5 type of look a little bit more often than not to get that athleticism on the field. He's your immediate corner in my mind. And just with the athleticism, it's going to be so intriguing to see how his game develops at the next level and as he continues to learn to play the defensive back position, because there are not many prospects that you can say both of their parents are Olympians. So Definitely, I think this is a home run pick for the Dolphins. Jeff Gladney, 31, Vikings, cornerback, TCU. This is your replacement to Xavier Rhodes. You replaced Stephon Diggs a few picks before, and now at this pick, you came back. Jeff Gladney, corner, TCU. It was mentioned on the draft coverage last night that Daniel Jeremiah saw a little Denzel Ward in his game from the feistiness and things along those lines. That's high praise, as he was a high first-round pick to Cleveland just a couple of seasons ago. But for me, what I see in Jeff Gladney is, I agree with that. I see a fighter, but I also see someone that has above average ball skills. He's not afraid to break on the ball, not afraid to make a play on the ball. And I feel in a division like the North, that could definitely fit for Minnesota. I mean, you look at them defensively, there was a point in time where they were getting interceptions and turnovers and takeaways at an alarming rate. And just in a couple of seasons, that has sort of fallen off. So I feel that they found a potential replacement to those turnover needs in Jeff Gladney at 31. 32, Kansas City Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, LSU. I thought that he was going to go to the Buccaneers in the second round. I felt that he was a fit in that Bruce Arians offense. But when you look at Kansas City, it's a similar type of feel. So he'll come in, he'll pair up with Damian Williams, which I think makes for a very intriguing and very special 1-2 punch in Kansas City. Edwards-Helaire can be a 3-down back if needed. Damian Williams is electric. He served very well in the pass game and also running for Kansas City this past year, working as a pseudo feature back for them. So this pairing right here is very interesting. The rich get richer offensively. You can be extremely creative with CEH. I definitely feel that he's going to catch a million balls from Patrick Mahomes. Definitely him in the pass game is definitely something special, and definitely that I think Andy Reid had his eye on when he made this selection for the Chiefs. And now as we slide into day 2, I want to go over my top remaining players, and I'll tell you where they are overall on my board. I'll give you my top 15 players heading into day 2. At number 1, I have Ross Blacklock, D-tackle, TCU. He sits at 13 overall on my big board. 2 is DeAndre Swift, running back, Georgia, 15 overall on my big board. Third best player available is Xavier McKinney, safety from Alabama, 18th best player overall. 4, AJ Epineza, edge from Iowa, 19 on my board. 5, Yatur Gross-Matos, edge from Penn State, 21 overall on my board. 6, Jalen Johnson, cornerback, Utah, 23 on my board. 7, Neville Gallimore, D-line, Oklahoma. He's coming in at 24. The 8th best player on my board is Zach Baun, an edge defender from Wisconsin, at 27. 9th best player is Marlon Davidson, defensive lineman from Auburn. He's sitting at 28 on my board. Grant Delpit is the 29th best player on my board from LSU. He is a safety. Then another LSU player checks in at 30 overall, Christian Fulton. He's a cornerback prospect. The 12th best player available, in my opinion, is Antoine Winfield Jr., safety from Minnesota, 31 overall. 32 overall is Trevon Diggs, cornerback from Alabama. Then we slide to Alton Robinson, edge defender from Syracuse, at 33 on my board. And then the 15th best player available currently, according to my big board, is Cam Akers, Florida State running back. He is 34 overall. Now, I'll give you another 10 names to watch for this evening, and I will also include where they sit overall on my big board. Wide receiver, Laviska Shenault, Colorado, at 35 overall. Jeremy Chin, safety linebacker prospect from Southern Illinois, at 47 overall. Interesting fact about him, he is the nephew of ex-Denver Broncos safety Steve Atwater. So the bloodlines are there with him. Curtis Weaver, edge defender, Boise State, 53. Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver from Southern Cal. I have him at 58 on the big board. Natan Muti, guard from Fresno State. He's at 56 overall on the big board. Then Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver, Southern Cal, 58 overall. Then we slide down to 3 players in a row at 70, 71, and 72. Hunter Bryant, tight end from Washington at 70. Willie Gay, linebacker, Mississippi State, 71. Ezra Cleveland, offensive tackle, Boise State, 72. Running back from Utah at 76 overall, Zach Moss. And then finally, offensive lineman from Kentucky, Logan Stenberg at 91. Now, some of my predictions for day 2 to keep an eye on as we get into the draft. I think the Colts are going to take Michael Pittman at 34 overall. Phillip Rivers has always had a big receiver. He likes his big receivers, whether it was Vincent Jackson, Mike Williams, whoever it might be. The Colts, they have T.Y. Hilton, which I think Phillip Rivers is going to love throwing the ball to him. But I think they're going to go ahead and they're going to complement him with his preferred bigger receiver. And I feel Michael Pittman is going to be that guy at 34. When the Redskins get back on the clock at 66, I think they go with Ben Bartch, the Division III, St. John's, Minnesota, offensive tackle. Again, Redskins at 66 will go with the Division III prospect Ben Bartch, offensive tackle. Pick 37, I think the Patriots are going to go ahead and try to get their replacement to Rob Gronkowski long term, and I feel that they're going to go ahead and take tight end from Notre Dame, Cole Kmet, at 37. I feel like the Dolphins are going to go ahead and take DeAndre Swift with their first pick in round 2. Go ahead and shore up that running back position, maybe long term. Again, Dolphins first, second round pick, DeAndre Swift. At 44, the Colts. Again, I feel like the Colts are going to be making some big moves today. I feel like they're going to take Jacob Eason, quarterback from Washington, at 44 overall. And then that's going to make Jacoby Brissett available for trade. So keep your eye on Jacoby Brissett and what happens after pick 44 when the Colts go with Jacob Eason, quarterback from Washington. I believe Tampa is going to go running back in round 2. I mentioned that I thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the match. With him off the board, look to J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State to be Tampa's selection. I feel like the Jets are going to take Laviska Shenault in the second round, wide receiver from Colorado, but he served in so many other roles as a Wildcat quarterback, phenomenal blocker, explosive athlete, really good after the catch, has a unique build at like 6 foot, 225-ish, just really, really unique build, top-notch athlete, wasn't able to fully display that at the combine due to an injury, has since recovered from that injury, and I feel like the sky's the limit for him. So keep an eye on the Jets and Laviska Shenault early in the second round. The Cowboys are finally going to get their DB help at pick 51 if Trevon Diggs is still available. The Dolphins will get Bob Sanders 2.0 and Antoine Winfield with pick 56. The Bengals are going to trade their first pick in round 3 to the Patriots, and the Patriots are going to take Jalen Hurts. And then 3 names to keep an eye on. I feel that Devon Hamilton, D-tackle from Ohio State, and Natam Muti, guard from Fresno State, are both going to go in round 3. And then I feel that Tyler Biadasz, center from Wisconsin, he's going to fall out of tonight. He's going to be around on day 3. He's just had a really, really rough slide. When you watch his film, it looks like he's taking a backwards approach. And I feel like that's going to end up hurting him, and he will find his way into day 3 tomorrow. And now, I talked about a crazy trade prediction. And now, this isn't necessarily something that I think that will happen or anything like that. But this is just me thinking about Bill Belichick being Bill Belichick, right? What if he calls the Packers? Is Aaron Rodgers available for trade? What if Bill Belichick is taking that Packers trade as a sign that they have moved on, that they are looking to the future? Is it possible that you could get Aaron Rodgers for a trade? Is it? And let's not say that this is completely crazy, because Belichick just spent the last 20 years with Tom Brady, who is an alpha in every regard. So is Aaron Rodgers. Brady comes with a personality, and he comes with his own set of quirks and circumstances, and the same can be said for Aaron Rodgers. And so why is it that that can't happen? Why is it that that phone call can't at least be made? Think about it. When the 49ers traded for Garoppolo, the first person they asked about was Tom Brady. Now, while I know that this is highly unlikely to happen, and the phone call probably won't even happen, I'm worried about the psyche of Aaron Rodgers moving forward after that Jordan Love pick. If you feel that you're in win now mode and you feel that you have one more deep run in you and you're a playmaker away and you feel they can address that playmaker need in round one and then they get your heir apparent, ooh, child, that does not sit well. I'm telling you right now, Aaron Rodgers is a big-time star. And just like how Brett Favre was cold and not exactly the most warm or welcoming of Aaron Rodgers initially and all of that with grooming him, and how their record is, and how the relationship is on record as not being the easiest one, I think you can expect the same from Rodgers and Jordan Love. It's very weird. It's very unique. It's a very odd set of circumstances for a team to, or let's just say it like this, for any organization to publicly announce who your successor is in front of millions of people when you've publicly said that this is what you would like, when you're supposed to be the valued piece of the organization. I don't know, maybe times are changing in Green Bay and maybe they're looking to the future. I mean, they have a new coach and maybe they're trying to rid themselves of some of the Mike McCarthy era with some of the key pieces and things along those lines. But I just find it very, very odd for Green Bay to draft a quarterback under those circumstances. And yes, I know I brought up a hypothetical, completely crazy idea that Belichick may try to trade for Rodgers, and it's not even going to happen. The phone call won't be made. But could Rodgers get disgruntled and want out? I feel that pick at 26 just set off such a can of worms that hasn't been opened yet, and they're going to slowly come out. So stay tuned there. Once again, this is That Sports Guys Podcast. I am Craig Forrestall, signing out until next time. Keep an eye out for my predictions for day 2 of tonight's draft, and hopefully you like the recap of night 1. Take it easy, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.